Over the past few months, we have talked extensively about the new Aeroplan program here on this channel. But it does seem like the new program is so new and so different compared to the old program that there's still many more things to learn about the best sweet spots and the best ways to actually use your Aeroplan points for maximum value. And so we've done in the past a video about the full guide to the new Aeroplan. We've done a video about redeeming flight rewards and what you need to know. In this video, we're going to concentrate on the best sweet spots. We're going to jam pack it with 9 of the best sweet spots that you need to know to redeem your Aeroplan points for maximum value when travel opens back up again. We're going to get into it right away, starting with the simpler sweet spots and moving on to the more advanced, more involved, and more creative sweet spots near the end of the video. Now, before we get started, a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy these videos, if you're hyped for the Aeroplan sweet spots we're going to cover in this video, then give the video a quick like down below just as it's starting out. It helps YouTube share the video with even more viewers and allows them to enjoy the sweet spots in Aeroplan as well. Sweet spot number 1 is perhaps the most well-documented sweet spot of the entire Aeroplan program thus far, and that's flying from either Vancouver or Calgary to Tokyo for 35,000 Aeroplan points in economy or 55,000 points in business class one way. This sweet spot takes advantage of the first distance band in the North America to Pacific zone chart, where you fly less than 5,000 miles in distance between these two regions. Now, the flights from Vancouver or Calgary, or perhaps Seattle in the US, over to Tokyo, or perhaps Osaka or somewhere close to Tokyo in Japan, do fall just under this 5,000 mile threshold. So if you were to make this booking, you would only pay 55,000 Aeroplan points, which is an excellent deal for either Air Canada business class or ANA business class, the Japanese airline. For reference, under the old Aeroplan program, this redemption would have cost 75,000 Aeroplan miles. And so 55,000 Aeroplan points for business class is a pretty significant reduction, and I do think this will be one of the most popular sweet spots once Japan opens up its doors to tourists once again. Alright, sweet spot number 2 is also going to be from Vancouver, and this time to Hawaii, whether that's to Honolulu or to Maui, depending on which flight Air Canada offers. That's because the Vancouver-Hawaii route falls just within the threshold of 2,750 miles on the Within North America chart. And so you're only going to pay 12,500 points in economy class or 25,000 Aeroplan points in business class one way for a direct flight between Vancouver and any of the Hawaiian Islands. Do keep in mind that since this is an Air Canada redemption, the points ranges you see on the chart are only an estimate for about 80% of cases. You can also find prices below the range and above the range, so if you're booking travel to Hawaii for peak season, you'll want to look far in advance to get the best chance of finding a lower price. You'll also want to engage with the program through Elite Status or through holding a co-branded credit card, which will give you preferred pricing on Air Canada flights and make it likelier for you to find flights that come in below the published range. In this case, you might get flights for even cheaper than 12,500 points one way from Vancouver to Hawaii. Now, here's why this price point is a very good sweet spot. In the past, we used to consider it a very good deal to redeem 12,500 British Airways Avios from Seattle to Hawaii on Alaska Airlines. And if you live in Vancouver, you'd have to get yourself down to Seattle and then catch that flight. But now you don't have to do that anymore because you can go ahead and redeem 12,500 Aeroplan points for the direct Air Canada service from Vancouver to Hawaii. And compared to the old program, there's also no more surcharges or anything like that to pay. So it's going to be a very convenient and very affordable way to get yourself and your family down to Hawaii. Now, naturally, the next question is, what if you're going to Hawaii but you don't live in Vancouver? And that brings me to sweet spot number 3, which is the fact that I'd consider travel within the entire North America zone with any Canadian city as the origin to be a pretty good sweet spot in the new program. That includes Hawaii, that includes Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. Basically any of the sun destinations that your average Canadian family might want to visit over the winter months. The new Aeroplan program is going to be a pretty competitive way to make your booking. That's because much of this region falls within 2,750 miles from major Canadian hubs like Toronto or Montreal. And so it can be booked for the same price point that we mentioned earlier, 12,500 points in economy or 25,000 points in business class one way. That's especially the case now that Aeroplan points can be used to book any available seat on any Air Canada flight. However, as I mentioned earlier, if you're planning to travel during peak travel season, like the winter holidays or March break, then you'll want to make your booking sooner rather than later because of the dynamic pricing model, and if you wait till the last minute, then you'll end up paying more Aeroplan points for the last few remaining seats on that given date. Now let's head to the east side of the country because there's no denying that Vancouver and Western Canada got lucky with the bulk of the Aeroplan sweet spots, but there are a few gems in there for those of us based around Toronto and Montreal as well. First up, sweet spot number 4 is going to be Air Canada's flight from Montreal to Casablanca in Morocco. Now this flight clocks in under 4,000 miles in distance flown, and so it's part of the first distance band of the North America to Atlantic zone, costing only 35,000 Aeroplan points in economy class or 60,000 points in business class. Now in reality, the Atlantic zone is arguably the chart that got devalued the most compared to the old Aeroplan program, but there is this little pocket of value here in North Africa. And that's because most other award programs out there would treat North Africa as the same zone as all of Africa, and would charge you disproportionately more than the 60,000 Aeroplan points in business class that Aeroplan charges. And so I think this route from Montreal to Casablanca, or connecting from anywhere else in Canada as long as the overall distance is less than 4,000 miles, is a pretty good sweet spot, and it's going to be my preferred way to get to Morocco when I do want to visit. Now, sweet spot number 5 is what I'm going to call the Asia 3 sweet spot, and that's basically any flight that goes to the Pacific zone and falls under the third distance band, under 11,000 miles flown, and therefore costs 85,000 Aeroplan points in business class. The reason this is such a strong sweet spot is if you look at all the Aeroplan charts and compare the total distances flown to the number of points required for that distance, then this sweet spot offers one of the best ratios across all the charts. It allows you to fly the greatest distance relative to the number of Aeroplan points you're paying. So for example, you could start from Toronto, fly to Paris, have a stopover there for 5,000 Aeroplan points, and then continue onwards to Bangkok on Thai Airways, and the whole thing is less than 11,000 miles, so it'll cost you 90,000 Aeroplan points, 85,000 points for the routing, and 5,000 points for the stopover. Other examples might include Toronto to Abu Dhabi to Singapore, or Montreal to Istanbul to the Maldives to Singapore. As long as the whole thing remains under 11,000 miles, you can do the whole thing for 85,000 Aeroplan points in business class, or add a stopover for 5,000 points. Again, this is a sweet spot that I would argue benefits Eastern Canadians more than Western Canadians, because obviously it's easier to route through Europe on your way to Southeast Asia and remain under 11,000 miles in distance if you have an Eastern Canadian city as your origin. Furthermore, even if you're just heading to a place like Central Asia, India, the Maldives, or the Middle East, you could potentially save points by adding an extra flight to Singapore or to Bangkok because of the differences in how generous the Atlantic chart is versus the Pacific chart. For more information on this, you can check out our article here on princeoftravel.com about what's called the Atlantic-Pacific arbitrage. Alright, time for sweet spot number 6. Now this is going to be less of a direct routing from point A to point B, and more of a new way of thinking about Aeroplan redemptions as a whole. Some might call it a new attitude. I would call it the Latitude Attitude. Essentially, you need to know 2 things. 1, the new Aeroplan lets you book different fare categories under the same class of service. So under economy class, you can book standard, flex, or latitude. And flex or latitude is going to be available for an incremental amount of Aeroplan points, usually in the range of 5,000 points for flex and about 10,000 points for latitude. Number 2, Aeroplan Elite status is now much more closely integrated with Aeroplan flight redemptions under the new Aeroplan program. And as part of your Elite status, you'll earn eUpgrade credits, which lets you upgrade from a lower class of service to a higher class of service on Air Canada flights. And so if we put these 2 things together, we'll see that one of the best benefits of the Economy Latitude fare category is that it lets you upgrade into business class using eUpgrades instantaneously at the time of booking, instead of having to wait until a certain clearance window before your flight. And so one of the best strategies as a result is that instead of redeeming Aeroplan points for Air Canada business class directly, you can redeem points for an Air Canada economy class flight in Latitude and then apply your eUpgrades from your Aeroplan Elite status instantaneously to upgrade into business class. And doing so will often save you a good chunk of Aeroplan points, which you can then use for the next trip. Basically, anytime you're contemplating an Air Canada business class redemption, whether that's domestic, transborder, or international, you should always compare against the Latitude economy price and see whether it would make more sense to book that and upgrade using your eUpgrade credits instead. If you want more details on this strategy, you can check out this article on the website up here, as well as some links in the description below. And if you would like to learn more about eUpgrades and Aeroplan Elite status and how to achieve Elite status in general, then we might make a video on that in the future. If you're interested in that video, let me know in the comments below. The more comments we get, the sooner I'll make the video. Alright, the next item on this list is going to be another general category of sweet spots, and that's going to be short and medium haul flights around the world on Star Alliance and Aeroplan's other partners. Because if you look at the award charts for within Atlantic Zone, within Pacific Zone, and within South America, then the first couple of distance bands is actually very favorably priced for short and medium haul flights. Now, in the past, we used to think of these short-haul flights around the world as the domain of other programs like British Airways Avios. But now, Aeroplan is also partially distance-based, and so it also retains the strengths of a distance-based program, making these short-haul redemptions excellent value in many cases. Now, there are all kinds of possibilities here considering the sheer vastness of the Star Alliance route network. The best deal is probably going to be on flights less than 1,000 miles in distance flown, which you can book for as little as 7,500 points in the Atlantic Zone or 8,000 points in the Pacific Zone. So you could be hopping around Europe on Lufthansa or Swiss, hopping around Asia or Southeast Asia on ANA, Air China, Singapore Airlines, or Thai Airways, Australia on Virgin Australia, Africa on Ethiopian Airlines. There's tons of possibilities. For myself, I'm particularly interested in maximizing this sweet spot on some of the Fifth Freedom flights around the world by Star Alliance partners. For example, there's not too many airlines flying around West Africa, but there is a TAP Air Portugal flight from Accra to Sao Tome and Principe, which I can now book for 15,000 Aeroplan points in business class. That's a spectacular deal compared to the cash fare and the expensive costs of getting around the region, so I'm looking forward to maximizing some of these interesting short-haul routes once the world opens back up again. Now, something else that I'm looking forward to once the world opens up is sweet spot number 8, which is some of the crazy routings that we're seeing on the Aeroplan search engine. When you search for various different city pairs on the online search engine, you might come across results that look a little bit crazy on a map. Things like Taipei to Abu Dhabi through Amsterdam, or Tokyo to Abu Dhabi through Sydney, or even Tokyo to Europe through Chicago, or perhaps even Santiago to Bogota through Toronto. Since these are priced out as a single one-way journey, but the routing is kind of crazy, this means that you're getting in a disproportionate amount of flying on some of the world's best business class and first class flights, and if you add a stopover in the middle, then a disproportionate amount of travel for a given number of Aeroplan miles. Finally, let's talk about what I'd consider to be one of the strongest sweet spots of the new Aeroplan, but also one that takes the most effort to maximize. And that's taking the priority rewards, which gives you a 50% discount on any Aeroplan redemption, and stretching them to their maximum. So the priority rewards vouchers are earned based on your status qualifying dollars with Air Canada. In other words, how much you spend on Air Canada flights. If you had Aeroplan 35K status or higher in 2020, then you would have also received some bonus priority rewards vouchers in your account as of the new Aeroplan's transition. Each voucher entitles you to a 50% discount on any eligible Aeroplan redemption. Now, the simple way to redeem these vouchers is simply to apply them to a round-trip flight. For example, if you're traveling within North America as an Aeroplan 25K member, then you can apply a priority reward voucher to a single round-trip economy class flight within Canada and the US. But here's the magical part, because under the new Aeroplan, you can actually combine up to 6 one-way bounds, which is effectively 3 round trips, or 3 pseudo-round trips, as we're going to call them, on the same ticket. And then you can apply a single priority reward voucher to that ticket and apply that 50% discount on not 1, not 2, but 3 round-trip flights within your eligible set of destinations. Instead, what you can do is something like this. Let's say you need to travel from Toronto to Vancouver 3 times a year. You start your ticket in Ottawa. Your first segment is Ottawa-Vancouver. Second segment, Vancouver-Toronto. Third segment, Toronto-Vancouver. And so on and so forth. Vancouver-Toronto, Toronto-Vancouver, Vancouver-Toronto. This way, you're not actually returning to your origin of Ottawa, but you're still able to combine those 6 segments on the same ticket and apply a priority reward voucher and get 50% off the whole thing. If you're an Aeroplan Super Elite member, then you'll be able to apply this principle to worldwide bookings in business class. But if you're a lower tier Aeroplan member, then you can't use your priority rewards on business class flights, but instead what you can do is apply this priority reward to 3 round trips in economy class and then use the Latitude Attitude that we talked about earlier to upgrade all those flights into business class. For an in-depth discussion of this very advanced sweet spot, you can refer to this article up in the link up here. I will warn you that it's pretty tough to get an Aeroplan agent over the phone to actually book this successfully because very few of them actually know that it's possible to put 6 segments on the same itinerary. And until the multi-city tool comes online on the Aeroplan search engine, we will have to book these things over the phone. I myself do plan on making a very Byzantine booking like this over the phone sometime soon. I might even make a video about it, documenting the experience over the Aeroplan call center. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. And with that, we've covered 9 of the best sweet spots under the new Aeroplan program. Now, I don't think it's going to be the perfect loyalty program in every single way, but I do think there's a little bit of everything for every type of traveler. Whether you're somebody who just wants to take simple trips around North America, maybe visit one of the sun destinations, or you want to go on international adventures, flying in business class and first class, and really stretching the value of your Aeroplan points as far as they will go. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below the video. And if you want a bit of extra content on the side, as well as access to the exclusive Discord chat group, then make sure to check out the link to the Patreon membership in the description below. Let me know in the comments which of the 9 Aeroplan sweet spots are you most looking forward to booking once it's time to travel again, and I'll see you in the next video. As I mentioned earlier, if you're traveling during peak periods like winter break or as you'll recall,